Kia ora tātou, we'll just admit everyone in and get underway in 30 seconds. And Ginny or Amy, if I could trouble you to keep an eye on the lobby for us, and we'll get underway together. Thanks everyone. Well, kia ora, welcome to the first case study webinar. My name is Cal Billington. I'll be serving as our host today. Really appreciate you joining with us. And so what we'll do is we'll begin with the karakia together and open, and then we'll talk through what we'll cover today and the way that we'll work with Q&A. So again, let's get underway, but thank you so much for joining in. All right. Karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mākina ki uta. Kia mātaratara ki tai. E hiaki ana te atakura. He tio hi huka. He hauhu ti hei Māori ora. Kia ora. Welcome again. So today's session is being recorded. It will be made available afterwards. So as we go through, if there's any detail you miss in the slides, or if you want to refer back afterwards, that will shortly be available on our website. We'd really welcome questions as we go along. So you'll hear from 3 presenters in 3 key sections through the presentation today. Welcome to put your questions into the chat together. And between myself, Ginny and Amy, we'll keep an eye on those and pass your questions into the presenters. And at the end of each section, we'll pause and check if there's any other general questions then. And if you have a question that you want to ask rather than writing down, feel free to put a hand up. And so you've got that option of putting your hand up or putting something into the chat, and we'll attend to those questions. And again, if we get to the end of today's session and you think, oh, I really wish I'd asked that, or something else comes to mind, we'll close with the general compliance address that you're welcome to contact us at any time. So if something comes up afterwards, don't feel like you've missed your opportunity today. And all of the material we'll go through today, the links to that source material will be made available as well. So I think that's all that we need in terms of getting underway. So let's go through the core agenda together, and then we'll call our first speaker up. So as indicated, we're going to share the outcomes of 3 case studies with you. The first will be about project planning, code requirements and deadlines, and Sarah is going to present that to us. And again, after Sarah's finished, we'll check if there's any additional questions you have. Then we'll go to our second case study around providing the complete and accurate information around reconciliation, and Heather's going to walk us through that. And finally, we'll take a look at deemed offers together with Alice. So as we get underway, again, if you've got questions, just drop them in the chat or put your hand up and we'll come to you in between as well. So with that, I'd like to invite Sarah Houston up. So Sarah is our Senior Advisor in Compliance. Sarah's been with the authority for 10 years, Sarah. Welcome. And in our compliance team, Sarah works alongside her colleagues helping to help participants understand their obligations and work through the compliance issues and processes. So Sarah, welcome. I'll pass the floor to you and you can guide us through our case study number 1. Thank you.
So the case study that I worked on was about the importance of meeting code deadlines and the impact that missing those deadlines can have on other people. The code puts responsibility on participants to share information within specified timeframes. They aren't arbitrary, they're put there for a reason because they have a time between when somebody needs to be able to get the information to when they need to be able to do the action that they have. It's pretty vital for participants to maintain compliance and safeguard the operational efficiency for all industry parties. In this particular case, a participant failed to submit information to the reconciliation manager when it was due at 4 o'clock on the 4th business day. The reconciliation manager anticipated getting that information based on some information that they had received from the grid owner who had got that information from the participant. When the files weren't provided, the reconciliation manager requested them as they can under the code. The participant, however, was unable to provide that information because the project that they had been running meant that there was no metering on site, so the information wasn't actually available to pass on to the reconciliation manager. That meant then that the grid owner, the reconciliation manager and the participant all had to spend some time trying to work out what information was there and how they could proceed with reconciliation. The participant did have the ability to revise the data that they supplied to the grid owner. If they had, this could have all been avoided. And the best way for them to have avoided that is by project management. If at the beginning of any project you take a note of all of the code obligations that you have and what your options within the code are to resolve any issues that might come up, whether it's a delay or some information isn't available that you might need to be able to give to someone else, and just list out those options within your risk, then you've got something to work with later on if those things come up. Managing projects inevitably involves challenges, delays, slippage. I've certainly done a few. So if you're allowing for those when you're planning, it's really going to help you out. Failing to meet code obligations disrupts industry parties and ultimately affects consumers. So effective project management must integrate the regulatory requirements and include strategies for compliance. So one example, you could have someone dedicated within your project team to go through and to know what those code obligations are that might be impacted. Designating a staff member to monitor compliance and update all of the relevant parties in the case of delays will mitigate your risks. So committing to clear communication and compliance, we can ensure the smooth operation of the industry.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. So you've got in the slides there from Sarah the relevant clauses that apply. You've got a summary here of the circumstances that Sarah's just talked us through, and then we've got those key summaries that Sarah's made. And so what we'll do, again, in each section, we'll check now if there's any general comments from the floor. My colleagues Ginny and Amy will call out if you've got a hand up or posted a comment. Because of the way we're sharing on screen, I won't see who that is. And then if we don't have any questions or comments in each section, we'll just go on to the next presenter. And again, reminding you that there's plenty of ways to get in touch with us afterwards. So, I don't think I see any hands up or any comments in the chat. So Sarah, thanks for your time. Really appreciate you joining us today and sharing learnings with us. And I'm sure we'll look forward to continuing to stay in dialogue around this and other areas. So Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move to our second case study now and invite Heather to come and join us. And Heather joined the authority in March 2024, came into the compliance team as a senior advisor with us there, and has moved into a newly established team in the organisation, the Consumer Compliance and Projects team. And they're focused specifically on the consumer care obligations, which many of you will have heard about. So Heather, welcome, great to have you with us, and I'll pass the floor to you. And again, if you have questions on the way through, feel free to put your hand up or drop them into the chat, and we'll check in again at the end. Thank you, Heather. Kia ora.
Kia ora koutou. So my case study about why it's important to provide accurate information to the reconciliation manager. It's a case about how not taking all practical steps and ensuring information provided is accurate could have an operational impact on the reconciliation manager, the participants and the authority. So when we're looking at the code obligations, we have to think about what we have to consider. So part 15 of the code, which is in front of you there, it requires reconciliation participants gather, store and provide information about electricity conveyed. They must take all practical steps to ensure what they're submitting meets the obligations, and any incorrect information could adversely impact the market, consumers and participant itself. So there is a requirement there in 15.2, so we are focused on 15.21a.
Thank you. And just going to interrupt for a second, Heather, just to note, some of you might have seen in the chat, there's one of you that used an AI assistant to help transcribe. We're recording this for you and we'll make it available. So feel free, you don't need to note everything down, and we're just trying to keep the chat clear for questions. So thank you. Sorry, Heather, let's go ahead from here. Over to you.
Okay, so looking at this particular case, where we had a participant that submitted information on time, so we had the 4 p.m. on the 4th business day, so that was correct through the code. However, it was not correct information. So the meter in question was a smart meter, that was for a residential ICP, which was not communicating correctly, so we had estimated volumes. So it's a half-hour submission volume that we're looking for to the reconciliation manager. It was incorrect because it's a manifestly overestimated amount. It's quite a significant amount overestimated on there. Luckily, the reconciliation manager noted it and asked the participant to resubmit, and the correct one was submitted before the issue was published as well, which was great. So we looked into an alleged breach as the participant failed to submit accurate information by 4 p.m. So did the information on time, but not accurate information. The 4 p.m. deadline is in clause 15.4 as well. So with that, the overestimation was so large, for the authority, it felt that the participant didn't take all practical steps. That's a key point on this as well, to make sure that the information was correct. We also noted that the checks the participant had in place were not sufficient to identify the material estimation error, because the checks were only to look at a small number of incorrect files for consistency, rather than looking earlier on and seeing these large jumps and these large estimations as well. So it's not just doing checks, but making sure that you have enough checks in place, and that's where the all practical steps come in there. So what we learned from this, when information is inaccurate, it may adversely impact participants for the balancing area and the reconciliation manager. So there is an impact all round when we don't get the right information. If the participant was not asked by the reconciliation manager to resubmit, the overestimation would have actually been $9 million. It was overestimated for the whole balancing area. And remember, this is one residential ICP, so it would have been quite significant. So the participant in this case would have had to either raise an invoice or a volume dispute. The oversubmission would have materially increased the participant's settlement and the market prudential obligations, so it has that impact as well, had it not been found by the reconciliation manager. So we're looking at participants should implement methods to ensure that enough checks are completed to identify and correct abnormal reading before submitting information to the reconciliation manager. For the authorities' approach, we actually met with the participant as well, and having that meeting really helped us better understand about how this could happen and what processes they had in place, and we were able to find the gaps where we could actually assist and support them to find the areas that how they could spot these errors before submitting as well, to keep everything as practical as possible to meet with that code. So when we're looking at reoccurrence and the methods that they use, some people ask, well, if we want to make all practical steps, what does that actually look like? So things like checking estimated data is consistent with the consumption patterns, so they'll be able to spot if something's not quite right. Check the meter is active and correct before submitting. So as I said, this was a meter that had been working for quite some time before the estimation was made, so it's all estimated readings that's gone through. So that goes on to checking the half-hour data is accurate. For participants, should also take into account non-communicating periods or potential invalid data received from the MEP. So all these kind of things help flag if there's any big errors like this. As I said, this is quite a unique situation where it was such a large error. It's unlikely these things can happen, but by taking these steps, no matter if it's a big or a small change, it can have a material effect. So these little things can actually help the information get as practical as possible for the reconciliation manager and for the authority.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you. So we've had, of the two cases so far, we heard from Sarah around being caught out in a situation where the information wasn't able to be accessed when it needed to be submitted or resubmitted. Here we've talked about a scenario where some incorrect information has led to quite a big overestimation. So some key themes around planning ahead, taking reasonable measures, and then but reaching out, like we're here to help and keen to help address these things in advance. Yeah. Thanks, Heather. I don't think there's any specific questions in the chat. So Heather, thanks for your time. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you. And we'll come to our final case study today with Alice Bowe. Alice is Senior Investigator also in our compliance team and has been with the authority for a year. Alice, prior to this, Alice was working in the Energy Operations team at NZX. So first as Reconciliation Manager there, and then later as a business analyst across all of their MOSP systems. So great to have you with us and all the experience you bring, Alice. I'll pass the floor to you.
Yes, thank you. Hi everyone. So the case I will be talking about today relates to the offer rollover mechanism that's called deemed offers and the precaution to take when you're relying on it. We can go to the slide. Yes. So the deemed offer clause might not be a clause that everyone is familiar with, but it provides that if a generator has not submitted an offer for a trading period in 2 days' time, today's offer for that trading period will be copied over. So for example, if today, Wednesday, you didn't have an offer for a trading period on Friday, it would take today's offer for that trading period and copied it to Friday. Another clause to keep in mind in this case is clause 13.9a, which states that the total megawatt specified in an offer must not exceed the total megawatt that the generator expects to be capable of generating. We can go to the case. So this particular case involved a participant who regularly relies on deemed offers when there's no change in megawatt or price. And in this case, on the 18th of April, the participant was expected to see a decrease in its generation capacity for the following day, the 19th, from trading period 5. And so the trader, to reflect that decrease, revised their offer from trading period 5 on the 19th from the 20 megawatt that they were offering to 8 megawatts. And then also offered 8 megawatts for all of the 20th and didn't submit anything for the 21st onward. When the next day, the 19th, arrived, there were still no offers for the 21st of April. And so as per the deemed offer clause, WITS copied the offers that were there for the 19th onto the 21st, including those first four trading periods that were still at 20 megawatts, which was obviously incorrect. If we go to the next slide, you can see with my nice little table there that the process was repeated for the entire week. So every day, WITS was copying the current trading days offers into 2 days later because there were no offers, including those 4 incorrect trading periods. And so those incorrect trading periods were copied from the 21st to 23rd, and then again from the 23rd to the 25th, and from the 25th to the 27th. The participant discovered what was going on the 26th, so was able to revise the incorrect offers for the 27th, but by that time there were 3 days that had incorrect offers. In terms of consequences, so obviously those 4 trading periods for the 21st, the 23rd, and the 25th, the participant was offering 20 megawatts when it should have been offering 8. And the system operator was still seeing that as available generation, and so was dispatching the station between roughly 12 to 15 megawatts when the participant was only generating between 4 to 8 megawatts. In terms of learning and recommendations, as I just said, an incorrect offer is still modeled by the system operator as available generation. So when the generator receives the dispatch instruction and is not able, well, the dispatch instruction based on that offer, and the generator is not able to comply with it, that may result in the system operator dispatching more expensive generation. So to avoid that, we remind participants on the importance of reviewing your offers regularly, at least daily, even when you rely on the rollover, and that could include reviewing the forward schedules as well that are published on WITS. So you can see what you are scheduled to be dispatched for, and you can pick up anything that doesn't look quite right. And because of the circumstances around this particular event, in this case, the participant also reviewed its protocols for handovers between traders just to make sure that there would be a bit better communication and that wouldn't happen.
Awesome, Alice, thank you. So we've had 3 case studies of 3 quite different ways that errors were created. There aren't any specific questions in the chat. And so if there are things that you want to raise, I'll talk to you in a second about how we review, how you can keep that dialogue going with us. But Alice, thanks for your time and the case study. I really appreciate having you with us. So from here, if this is the first time that we've done case study webinar like this, so one, really keen on any additional questions or specific, either about the case studies themselves or the learnings from them, or things relevant to the way you're operating in your practice. You can reach out to the team directly at compliance@ea.govt.nz. Also, we'd welcome feedback on case study webinars like this and its value to you, things that we could do if you'd like us to do this from time to time, or if there's things we can do to improve it, as it's something new that we're making available. So I think that's all from us here. Keep in touch, and as I said, reach out to the team at compliance@ea.govt.nz. So from there, let's wrap up together, and again, just a sincere thank you for engaging with us and your time. Kia ora. Let's go to our closing karakia together. So, he karakia. Kia tau ngā manaakitanga a te mea naro, ki runga ki tēnā o tātou. Kia mahia te hua mā ki hiki, kia toi te kupu, toi te mana, toi te araha, toi te rao Māori. Kia tūturu, ka whakamaa kia tina, huie taikia. Kia ora tātou, thanks again for your time with us, all the very best.